I know the feeling. You scroll through a sea of robot vacuums that promise studio-grade cleaning, watch a handful of glossy videos, add a few items to your cart, and then the reality hits. The unit looks sleek in the box, but when you finally let it run across your hardwood, it leaves streaks, misses corners, or just sounds like a tiny vacuum that can't keep up with the mess you actually have. I've been there, and I've also heard enough from friends who bought a robot vacuum only to end up dragging it back out of the closet a week later. That's why today's deep dive is all about making sure you don't waste time or money on a gadget that sounds great on paper but falls flat in your daily routine. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The DREAME L30 Ultra tries to position itself as an on-stop cleaning machine. It combines a 7,300 Pascal suction system, a heated 136F mop that claims to self-clean, self-dry, and even refill itself, plus a robot that empties its own dustbin. On the surface, that sounds like the ultimate hands-off solution for a busy household, but the real question is whether all those features actually translate into a smoother day-to-day experience. Let's start with the setup. When you first unbox the L30 Ultra, you're greeted with a fairly tidy package: the robot, a charging dock, a separate water tank, a mop attachment, and a small auto-empty bag that slips into the base. The instructions are straightforward enough that a non-tech-savvy person can get it up and running in under 30 minutes. You have to fill the water tank, attach the mop cloth, and then calibrate the Mop-Extend edge cleaning feature by guiding the robot through a few test runs. The initial calibration does take a couple of extra minutes compared to a plain vacuum robot, but it's not a roadblock. What matters more is what happens after you've set it up. In real-world use, the AI-powered navigation and 3D mapping feel genuinely competent. The L30 Ultra learns the layout of a two-story apartment after a handful of cycles and creates distinct floor plans for each level. It remembers where the carpeted zones are versus the tiled kitchen and adjusts suction accordingly, which is a nice touch if you have mixed flooring. The Mop-Extend edge cleaning works the way it says it does. The robot raises the mop slightly when it encounters a threshold, then drops it back down, so you don't end up dragging a wet mop over a rug. I tried it on a kitchen with a low countertop edge, and the robot smoothly lifted the mop, avoiding any water spill onto the wood below. The heated mop is where the L30 Ultra tries to stand out. At 136°F, the water is warm enough to loosen light grime on tile and linoleum without scorching delicate surfaces. For me, the biggest practical win was in the bathroom, where steam from a recent shower left a faint film on the floor. A single pass with the heated mop took care of that film without any scrubbing. The self-cleaning cycle, however, is a bit of a mixed bag. After each mop session, the robot runs a short rinse inside its own water tank, then dries the mop cloth with a small fan. The drying takes about 10 minutes, during which the robot sits on its dock and you can't schedule another cleaning. If you have a high-traffic home and want back-to-back mop runs, you'll need to plan for that downtime. The auto-empty feature is another headline that gets a lot of attention. The base houses a disposable bag that the robot empties into after each run. In practice, the bag holds roughly a week's worth of dust for a standard-size apartment with pets. When the bag fills up, the robot will pause and return to the dock, then continue once you replace the bag. For pet owners who hate constantly emptying a tiny dust cup, this is a genuine convenience. However, the bag is a proprietary item you have to purchase separately, and the cost can add up if you need to replace it frequently. If you're on a tight budget, that recurring expense is worth factoring in. Now, who should actually consider the L30 Ultra? If you live in a medium-sized home or apartment, have mixed floor types, and you're looking for a set-and-forget solution that can also mop without you having to lift a rag, this robot checks most boxes. The AI navigation saves you from manually setting boundaries, and the heated mop handles light spills that would otherwise require a quick swipe with a towel. Families with small children who track juice or cereal crumbs onto hard floors will appreciate the mop's ability to warm up and dissolve residues that a cold mop might miss. The auto-empty bag is a real time saver if you're not keen on daily maintenance. On the other hand, there are clear scenarios where you might want to walk away. First, if you have large, heavily carpeted homes, the 7,300 Pascal suction is strong, but the robot's mop system isn't needed, and you'll be paying for a feature you won't